So we are reading from fifth canto, Creative Impetus, chapter 21, entitled The Description of the Island of Jambudvipa. Text 21. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayeshvabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtike etat eva hi deva gayanti aho amisham kimakarishobanam prasanna esham sweet utta swayam harihi Yarjanma labdham rishu bharata jire mukundas sevaopayikam spriha. Sorry about that, devotees. We had a software outage. The computer just randomly restarted. Word for word. Etat this. Eva indeed. He certainly. Deva all the demigods. Gayanti chant. Aho. Oh. Amisham of these inhabitants of Bharatavarsha. Kim what? Bari was done. Shobhanam pious. Beautiful activities. Prasannaha pleased. Esham upon them. Sweet or Uta it is said. Swayam personally. Harihi the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yaihi Yaihi by whom? Janma birth. Labdham obtained. Reshu in human society. Bharata Ajire in the courtyard of Bharata. Mukunda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can offer liberation. Seva Opayikam, which is the means of serving. Spriha, Spriha, desire. Indeed, he indeed. Naha, our. Translation. Since the human form of life is a sublime position for spiritual realization, all the demigods in heaven speak in this way. How wonderful it is for these human beings to have been born in the land of Bharatavarsha. They must have executed pious acts of austerity in the past, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself must have been pleased with them. Otherwise, how could they engage in devotional service in so many ways? We demigods can only aspire to achieve human births in Bharatavarsha, to execute devotional service. But these human beings are already engaged there. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. These facts are further explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 941. Bharata Bhumite Haila Manusya Janmayara Janmar Sartaka Karikara Para Upakara. Quote, one who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatavarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. End quote. There are many facilities in India, Bharatavarsha, for executing devotional service. In Bharatavarsha, all the acharyas contributed their experience. And Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita personally appeared to teach the people of Bharatavarsha how to progress in spiritual life, fixed in devotional service to the Lord. From all points of view, Bharatavarsha is a special land where one can very easily understand the process of devotional service and adopt it to make his life successful. If one makes his life successful in devotional service and then preaches a devotional service in other parts of the world, people throughout the world actually benefit. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitanyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Etat eva hi deva gayanti Aho amisham kimakari shovanam prasnesham svidutta swayam harihi yarjanma labdham rishu bharatajire mukunda sevapaikam sprihahinaha. Since the human form of life is a sublime position for spiritual realization, all the demigods in heaven speak in this way. How wonderful it is for these human beings to have been born in the land of Bharatavarsha. You must have executed pious acts of austerity in the past, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself must have been pleased with them. Otherwise, how could they engage in devotional service in so many ways? We demigods can only aspire to achieve human births in Bharatavarsha, to execute devotional service. But these human beings are already engaged there. So, being born in the land of the Acharyas, the land of Sri Krishna, the land of great spiritual potency, the land of many avatars of the Lord. The Lord appears in his Archa Vigraha. He's permanently situated in those many wonderful forms in the land of India. And he appears in the form of the Vedas, his own words. So this is the special facility of being born in India. Now, when you look at currently what's going on in India, one may not readily see the facility that's there for actually the ease with which you can be situated in your ontological position as Jivera Swarupoi Krishna Nityadas, actually act and function as the eternal servitor of the Lord. As we know, Lord Chaitanya, he gives three categories for three. You can categorize knowledge in three different ways. There's knowledge of Sambandha Gyan, so knowledge of your relationship with the Lord. Now, knowledge of your relationship with the Lord includes so many other subject matters, particularly the five subject matters of Bhagavad Gita. It includes, there's the Jiva, you, and other Jivas as well, living entities. It's the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. So it's Atma, Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, and how He actually pervades everything and sustains all life. There's Prakriti, nature. There is karma, activities. There's the time factor, how the time factor brings about results of fruitive activities or just any reaction in material nature. How time is actually the prime mover of all movements within the universe. How time is also acting on the mind as well. So it's Atma, Paramatma, Prakriti, Kala, and, and Karma. Yeah. And Karma, your activities as well. So this is Sambandha Gyan. And then there's Abhidheya. So once you actually understand that you are related to the Supreme Lord, then there's knowledge on how to actually function on that understanding. And what is drawing you, uh, what you're actually aiming for, and the taste that you're actually tasting in that activities is the goal itself. So, and so the Abhidheya is forming the devotional service. And then the goal is the third category, which is this prayojana, actual goal. So in the land of India, it's actually very easy. From a very young age, the facility is there to actually function this way. Now, because in this modern age of plastic and information, that's not something that we are automatically attracted to, this prayojana. But when you look at a lot of persons from India, um, from a very young age, this desire is actually there, it's cultured within. So here in America, if you had to read this verse for other people who are trying to immigrate to America, because right now, America is still the dominant cultural force in the world. And so, what is aspirational is to actually live in America because of the benefits of the free market, the sense, the seemingly unlimited amounts of sense gratification that are there. So, if you had to reread this verse for people who live outside America, they would say, well, since they would say how wonderful it is for these Americans to have been born in the land of America. They must have executed pious acts of austerity in the past for the Supreme Personality of, or the personality of sense gratification must. Otherwise, how could they engage in sense gratification in so many ways and only aspire to achieve human births in America to execute sense gratification? But these human beings are already there. Yes. So there is, from that viewpoint, you can understand there's actually a lot of facility in America. So being born in America, uh, you have law and order. So justice is established to a large extent. Um, so I remember when I came, and even there's one devotee as well, who also came from South Africa. The first thing that you do when you come, when we came, was that we wanted a locked door. We couldn't understand how people could live without a locked door on the farm. Of course, when you live in the city, you have to be conscious of that. Um, can even see urban areas in America as well. They don't have walls. Now, in South Africa, you have to have some fence or something. A wall must be there. Um, so to some extent, law and order is established. The rule of law and justice, to some extent, is there. And this is a relative comparison. It's not an absolute description. Uh, It's not like relative to the law and order that was established, um, prior to the large urbanization that we've seen in the world, even several hundred years ago. Law and order and justice was more established in some kingdoms of the world. Of course, there was slavery that was there, um, but that's there. So even when you want to actually enjoy your senses in some parts of the world, without rule of law, you can't really do business. Your security is so high that they actually exceed your operational costs of the business. And so you don't even open in the first place. You can't secure your inventories. Your workers themselves, they can be part of some kind of crime syndicate, and they can actually even loot your business. Um, there's also a free market, a function in America. The other facility that's there now, a free market has demonstrated itself. And this is why capitalist, free market capitalism is so popular, because it has demonstrated to be a system, a social system that can pull people out of poverty the fastest. These the comparison 60s, from about the 50s to the early 90s. Comparison was there between communist Russia and the Soviet Union and America. And the living conditions were very different. The standard of living in the US was a lot higher. So a common person had access to a lot of commodities, and they were priced appropriately. Now, excuse me, in communist countries where the economy is centrally planned, isn't so much of production of commodities. The prices were set by the government, and so because of that, um, different things weren't really readily available. Now, the example that's often used is the what's on your breakfast plate, the varieties of fruits. You can have mangoes in the winter, different kinds of berries. This kind of plate was only available to, you had to actually be the King of England or the Queen. Typically, ordinary people didn't eat like this. You had to have a high ranking position in the royal, in the British royal family or British nobility. At the time, Britain was a kingdom. They owned so many territories around the world, and so they would import the best commodities from. Now, when you're in America, um, even if you're on social welfare, you can have your fruits, berries, and mangoes. Mm. So this is the facility of free market capitalism. Then the other facility, which is often overlooked, but when you come to America, when you're looking from outside, the glare of sense gratification is very attractive. It looks like, oh, what I'm seeing on TV, in the movies, uh, the way I'm seeing all the stars of various entertainment industries, from sports to acting, uh, to even news anchors as well. You have like millionaires of people who just read the news or who just have some show, and they are analysts. They analyze sporting events. And so when you look at these people, because they are really what you see in mainstream media that's distributed around the world, it looks like, yes, this is so attractive. Then when you actually come inside, um, you actually see that, yeah, this sense gratification that's advertised by free market capitalism is pretty empty. I remember one devotee, Savya Sachiprabhu, So he went we were staying in Santon, and so he's on the sannyas list. So he's a long-term brahmachari, and he went to LA. He had some preaching. So I think, yeah, on the West Coast, he had some preaching events that he was invited. And when he came back, I asked him, yeah, so Prabhu, how was LA? How was Tinsel Town? What did you see? Of course, there's devotees, New Dwarka. We're interested in that, but we are also interested in how Dwarkadisha, the land of his kingdom of illusion in LA and California, what is it actually like? And he was like, yeah, practically a desert. When you, all these studios, these movie studios, etc., where they, shoot the movies, it's practically just empty. There's not, so he was underwhelmed. He thought, things would just be more built up, and um, they would, yeah, there would be a little bit more substance to the social scene there. But it's like, yeah, it's just a factory, and it's pretty desolate. Um, So what we see on TV, we think that that is the substance, that's the environment that people live in on a day-to-day basis, on like almost like a real live movie set. That's how people actually live. But that isn't the actual fact. So similarly, yeah, with these facilities of established law and order for just a person, free market capitalism, these are and seemingly sense gratification, but really it's not there. And when you come in, you really have to work hard, harder than your birth country, in fact. Uh, that's the thing with free market capitalism. So these are the downsides, and this is what's really not advertised. And um, so these things make it attractive to actually come to America. So similarly, in the land of Bharatavarsha, when Rupa Goswami compiled the Upadeshamrita, the Nectar of Instruction, he took, basically, it's a synthesis of all the major scriptures of the world. And he distilled that these are the most important instructions. Now, when you read that, all 11 texts, you'll see that in the land of India, you're able to actually, there's facility for executing these, or all these instructions. Yeah. So Prabhupada, he quotes from the Adi Lila, chapter 9, 641, uh, which gives more detail about why taking birth in India is so special. So let's read from translation. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatavarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. Purport. The magnanimity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressed in this very important verse. Although he was born in Bengal and Bengalis therefore have a special duty toward him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is addressing not only Bengalis but all the inhabitants of India. It is in the land of India that actual human civilization can be developed. Human life is especially meant for God realization. As stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, anyone who takes his birth in the land of India, Bharatavarsha, has a special privilege of being able to take advantage of the instruction and guidance of the Vedic civilization. He automatically receives the basic principles of spiritual life. 99.9% of the Indian people, even simple village farmers and others, who are neither educated nor sophisticated, believe in the transmigration of the soul, believe in past and future lives, God, naturally want to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his representative. These ideas are the natural inheritance of person born in India. India has many holy places. Okay, so that's the first facility, is that um, your subtle body. So remember the transmigration from one body to the next. It's the container for the soul is the subtle body. And Lord Kapila, Devahuti, how the conditioned soul gets this container, how he actually feels at home in this specific container. So he or she will feel at home by the energy of false ego. So when you go, say, if I transmigrate into the body of a peacock here at Gita Nagari, I won't feel like seeing all the devotees. I won't have an existential crisis, feeling like, oh, I could be staying in one of the buildings, could be getting heating, I could be getting burpees. I wouldn't be feeling like that. I'll actually be comfortable in the body of a peacock, eating the scraps of grain that are scattered for us. Um, sometimes when I hear thunder, I, I get excited and I'll run and I'll start making the sounds of a peacock. Um, when I see a female peacock, if I'm in the male body of a peacock, I will expand my plumes and feel pleasure that way. So I'll actually feel comfortable. And that's the energy of the false ego, is that before you get transmigrated, you get this conditioning. And so when you actually transmigrate into the body in India, what Prabhupada is explaining here is that it's just automatically there. So the social system makes it very easy that way. But the people are just naturally inclined towards this. So this belief, it's it's part of the social system. As a child, um, like the children, they bring them when they come here on the farm, and there's be like little Indian children, and the children are very afraid of the cows. They've never touched the cow before, and they're very afraid. And the parents are practically forcing the kids to touch the cow. And you can see there's like a shift that immediately happens, is that the kid is crying, no, no, ma, I don't want to touch it. Are they speaking in Hindi or something, or the native language? And then as soon as the mother to brush the cow, after maybe 10 minutes of this, of like resisting and being afraid, the child becomes happy. Yeah. So I've never seen a kid leave the barn being unhappy after being forced to touch the cow. So then they actually like it. Yeah. So this is one example to illustrate that even just love for cows, it's just naturally in them. Uh, there's one Mataji who came. She said she used to be a pujari for Radha Govinda, and so elderly, probably in her 70s, and so she came, visited the farm with her son, and she was telling us that when she was pregnant with him, she was worshipping Radha Govinda. Now, Gitanagri, as you may know, is originally Radha Govinda's farm. So it was purchased by the New York Temple. And uh, the produce, what was produced on the farm, they were the primary beneficiaries. And so she had this relationship with Gitanagri for a while. And so when he was a child, she would actually come regularly to Gitanagri. And so somehow, yeah, life happens, and then they didn't come so often anymore. And then now he has his first child on the way. And so what he did is that he decided to come to Gitanagari, and he wants to, and then he expressed to me. So now His profession is that he's a trader on Wall Street. So he pulls up in his M5 BMW, very fancy vehicle. Minimum price is 120,000 for this vehicle. But he was telling us like the vehicles that he has, and so he's really doing well for himself on Wall Street. But in spite the modes of nature of that specific occupation that it puts you in, a lot of passion. In spite of that, he didn't forget service to the cows, service to Radha Damodar, because this was inculcated in his mother, by his mother from a very young age. And so now that he has a child coming on the way, he feels actually very dependent on the Supreme Lord. So, in spite of having so much of financial power, he's actually feeling more dependent. That now I can see in giving the best to this child, I need the Supreme Lord. I need his blessings. I need the blessings of the cows. And so he came and he sponsored the rescue of a cow and calf. And so that's $6,000, just like that. And he's ready to give more. So, in spite the modes of nature, this is the special facility that was given. So there's many examples like this. But really, the point I'm making is that the subtle bodies are uh, very receptive to these beliefs, as Prabhupada is saying. It's not very difficult to actually convince them, because this is the special facility. So just like we are saying, in America, there's facilities which you can't see, but they actually structure the quality of life here, establish the rule of law, um, and the free market capitalism. You can't see this, it's present. So similarly as well, taking birth in the land of Bharatavarsha, you can't see the subtle body. But when you actually have it, the facility that it gives is that it's very easy to accept these canonical beliefs in spiritual life. Belief in soul, belief in transmigration of the body from one body to the next, personality of Godhead, or innate personality of Godhead. So you might be misled that it's a demigod, but puja is part of how you live. We continue. India has many holy places of pilgrimage, such as Mathura, Prayag, Vrindavan, Haridwara, Haridwara, Ramesh, and still people go there by the hundreds and thousands. Although the present leaders of India are influencing the people not to believe in God, not to believe in the next life, not to believe in the distinction between pious and impious life, and although they are teaching them how to drink wine, eat meat, and become supposedly civilized, people are nevertheless afraid of the four activities of sinful life. So they have that natural fear, namely illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. And whenever there is a religious festival, they gather together by the thousands. We have actually experience of this. Whenever the Krishna consciousness movement holds a Sankirtan festival in a big city like Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, or Hyderabad, thousands of people come to hear. Sometimes we speak in English. But even though most people do not understand English, they nevertheless come to hear us. Even when imitation incarnations of Godhead speak, people gather in the thousands. For everyone who is born in the land of India has a natural spiritual action and is taught the basic principles of spiritual life. They merely need to be a little more educated in the Vedic principles. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says here, Jannas sartakakari karapara upakara. If an Indian is educated in the Vedic principles, he is able to perform the most beneficial welfare activity for the entire world. So Rupa Goswami, he says about one who is able to actually preach, be a guru for the entire world, is that the qualification is to actually control the mind's demands, the actions of anger, the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. So here, this natural fear of these illicit activities, meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex, is that yes, many persons born in Indian so they might not even be born in the land of India themselves, but their parentage is that of Indian descent. And so they may be engaged in these activities. Still, they have this fear, as Prabhupada is saying. So these are some of the benefits. Now, when you look at the how this benefit is able to be replicated, we see it in devotees born to devotee parents. So children born of devotee parents, they also have this. So even though they're not coming from, strictly speaking, the Indian gene pool, they actually have the subtle bodies, which we are speaking about here, that are actually um, favorable for spiritual life. So a lot of devotees. I remember there's working with a devotee. His parents are Prabhupada disciples, Abai, Charan Prabhu. So he currently he emigrated back to Mayapur. And I could actually observe is that for him, regulative principles and just attending Mangal Arati, coming before the deities, performing kirtan, sitting and listening uh, to different classes by different devotees, um, being of service during festivals. The whole flow of the Vaishnav calendar, for him, very, very easy. It just flowed. So it's like these devotee, he could just do, even though he was tired, practically on just like 20% power, he could do or perform all these duties. So that he was tired and, you know, he slept late, he was up for Mangalarati, then goes and milk the cows, comes back. So it was just very natural for him. So this is a special facility that Prabhupada has also given, is that yes, for a preacher, even if you don't have, as we said, the same, you have um, gene pool, you're actually of Indian descent, this facility is not genetic. It's all based on culture. So even devotees born in the land of India, to second generation devotees and even third generation, their parents come from different gene stock, but still, uh, they actually, for this belief in Krishna, uh, performing devotional service, belief in the understanding, a basic understanding of the transmigration from one body to the next is there. And if you're not born, then you can actually access this facility as well and transmigrate into it in one sense when you actually take shelter of an ISKCON temple. So Prabhupada he described um, these temples as portals to a spiritual world. They're actually holy places. Uh, Gita Nagari, we glorified every day as a holy place. So the facility for functioning as though you were born in India, um, in the land of the avatars of the Supreme Lord, you're actually able to do it. So the facility is there. So, for example, um, you know, you could consider that, yeah, okay, I want to actually get a job and then I'll pay rent. and then you comparing the rents. So it's like, okay, Gita Nagari is saying that I can pay rent this much, and then if I live outside, I'll pay that much. Now, the benefit of actually living uh, in a community, it's not the external facilities. The main benefit is to be able to sit down and chant with the devotees. So the main prayojana that Rupa Goswami says is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. The facilities that are there in the land of India lend themselves to always remembering Krishna. From hearing about his tars of his different pastimes in different incarnations, uh, pastimes about he himself as Swayam Bhagavan, Sri Krishna 5,000 years ago. It's always there. And the whole day is structured around serving the deity. Um, So that's the special facility. Is that okay? You go to your place of work, you come back, all there is just devotional service. Um, that's the main opportunity. Um, and so we should actually take this access to the association of devotees as facility for as though we were born in the land of India. This is what the demigods are saying. We can only aspire to achieve human birth in Bharatavarsha. So remember, demigods, it's a bit like, uh, for example, Steve Jobs, he got exposure to the Hare Krishnas, and in his memoir, he acknowledged that before he became super successful as a student, he was actually subsisting on prasadam distributed by the devotees. So this statement here, you can just imagine him saying, and after at the end of his life, he was really regarded as like this Nara Deva, human god in technology. He had a lot of wealth in the form of stocks in Apple Corporation, and so much of influence. And so you can just imagine him saying, I can only aspire to achieve a birth in a devotee family. So this is like, that's what these demigods are saying. So highly successful jivas who've achieved residence on Swargaloka, saying that they actually want to take birth in the land of India. So similarly, we should see it as a great benefit that Prabhupada, he actually uh, duplicated the facilities of taking birth in India uh, all around the world. So this is what the Sankirtan movement is all about. This is what the Chaitanya tree is all about, is that it actually branches out to different parts of the earth planet and indeed to the entire universe. Uh, there's a description in the Chaitanya Bhagavat how different demigods would actually visit Lord Chaitanya's nocturnal kirtans, Yamaraj, Shiva, going into ecstasy. And from that ecstasy, then their dependents will see them, and they have never seen, like the brave Yamaraj had never been seen to just be completely dumbstruck, being unable to speak, showing different the sadvikar symptoms of ecstasy. He was showing that, and his assistants were also struck. They couldn't actually understand that. Oh my God, we've never seen our Lord in this way, and so in this way they got affected. Then he described why he was actually behaving this way. It was because of the ecstasy from chanting the holy name. And so the description is that the Chaitanya tree, expanded. So the Lord Chaitanya expanded his influence to different parts of the universe by demigods showing up at these kirtans. They were affected, then they preached to their followers on different planets. So in the same way with Prabhupada establishing these temples, 108 of them while he was present, while his physical presence was manifest before everybody, um, they are to be taken as portals, these dams, as portals to the facilities that are available in India and indeed in the spiritual world. So today we can pray to Radha Damodar to be able to see that more and to actually take advantage. Just as these demigods are aspiring to take birth in Bharatavarsha, we should also aspire to, we have the birth in ISKCON. Through the mercy of the devotee, we have the birth. And so let us aspire to take more advantage of these facilities. And in this way, our devotional service to the Lord can actually increase and be more palpable. Hare Krishna. Are there any reflections to our esteemed devotees online or contentions? Comment from Yashadev Prabhu saying that, he's grateful of this reminder of our good fortune to actually be members of ISKCON. Not just card carrying members, but we are functional members of ISKCON. So let us try to be more functional. So another thing I wanted to mention is that the land of India, in spite it being colonized by different external forces, so warlords and different imperial rulers from outside, and they impose different things on India, trying to influence the social system. Still, these facilities are accessible. These facilities for worshiping the Lord and remembering the Lord. And even with degradation, having fully infiltrated India in the form of illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, still it's there. So this unseen facility, how the Lord is actually maintaining these facilities from remembering the Lord and never forget Him. This is the special potency of the land. So in the same way, with these specific 108 temples that Prabhupada established and farm communities, they have a distinct potency. And so we should take advantage. Prabhupada's vision will always manifest in these places. Throughout the 650 temples that are part of ISKCON worldwide. But we should see that the 108 that Prabhupada established, they have a distinct potency. And Gita Nagari has a distinct potency. Its mission, its objective is to roll out or manifest the second half of Prabhupada's mission, which is the establishment of Varnashram Dharma. So we should see that and we should try to be of service to that objective.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribo Prabhu.
I would like to thank you for a really nice class. You made so many wonderful points. Fact that Srila Prabhupada spread the special facility of India all over the world, and that we are especially blessed to have the opportunity to render devotion and service and rest in Krishna consciousness, being inhabitants of Varsha. It's good to be mindful of these things. We need constant reminders because there's always the pressure of Maya and our environment also. In addition to having great facility, there's also the pressure of Maya, the influence of the created society. It's easy to be taken in by someone that distracts them. So we have to have constant reminders of what it is that we're supposed to be doing, what really is our best interest, and what a wonderful opportunity we have, and if we need to take full advantage while we have that opportunity. And speaking of opportunities and the fleeting nature of everything within the scope of material nature, and even within Varsha, there is. Are we? Shri Radha Damodar. Yeah, I'll just stop. But I did want to say that amongst the goals that Srila Prabhupada set for Gita Nagari, in addition to Varnashram, which is something that many of our Acharya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta attempted to reestablish it. He could not do it. Srila Bhaktivinoda Tagore attempted. He could not do it. Srila Prabhupada attempted. He could not do it. For us, he said, if possible, try to do it. But in the absence of Varnashram, Krishna consciousness has gone on for some time. So while it affords great facility, it is not necessarily indispensable.